Hello everybody, it's Mr. Second Amendment doing a quick, just a little update. And the biggest update so far is, it's the 29th of April, 2021. And just keeping up with the times. I've had some of you guys asking in the comments about my thoughts on it. So just figured I would address it now while I can get to it. We'll see if I can do a live Q&A tonight. But we'll see if that happens. There's a lot of stuff on the schedule for today, actually. But biggest update is the Supreme Court is going to hear a case that is pretty exciting, but it also could be potentially disastrous. And let me explain. So it's out of New York, and some individuals who wanted to get a concealed carry permit, but New York is a May issue state. So for those who don't know, a May issue state is a state where you can still successfully complete your background check, the training, everything you need to do to get a concealed carry permit. And the final decision as to whether you're going to get it or not depends on the local jurisdiction, the Department of Justice. If it's California, it's your county sheriff's office. All of that depends, on you supplying some kind of reason to say that I have more of a security risk than most normal people. Here's the reason why my situation warrants that I should have the concealed carry permit. Now, of course, that's not how it should be. And it reminds me of a regular back in California, where she had someone attack her. He got out on a technicality. She was worried he was going to finish the job. She had already been hurt and sent to the hospital by this guy. And even still, she couldn't get a concealed carry permit. At least the way it was in California. I'm sure New York is the same. You were not getting a concealed carry permit in that May issue state unless you knew somebody, your brother was the sheriff, you were a politician or a celebrity, or you donated to the right, politician's campaign. That's not how it should be. The Second Amendment should be for everyone, whether you're wealthy and well-connected, or if you're just a regular Joe like you and I. So this lawsuit is going up. We do have conflicts between the federal circuit courts, and finally the Supreme Court is going to take a Second Amendment case that's very important. Now, it's not just about May issue. Really what this case is about is, does your Second Amendment apply to you once you leave the threshold of your own home or domicile? So going back to Heller versus DC, District of Columbia had a handgun ban. You legally could not own a handgun at all in the District of Columbia, and that ban had been in place for 3 decades. And Heller and a couple other people said, hey, I want to have a handgun in my home for lawful self-defense, and I can't have a handgun. That case was argued back when Justice Scalia was on the court, and basically the ruling was you can't ban guns in common use. Handguns would be considered common use, and you do have, the Second Amendment is an individual right, and you do have a right to self-defense in your home, which successfully just stripped away DC's handgun ban. And that kind of set the groundwork for McDonald versus Chicago in 2010. So now we're getting this case, and the big issue of this case is, does your Second Amendment apply outside your home? Because they're arguing, hey, I can't get a concealed carry permit because I'm not well connected. I'm not wealthy, I'm not, I'm just a regular guy trying to get a concealed carry permit, and the state of New York is not letting me get it. But I believe I have a Second Amendment right that extends beyond the home, and they're violating my rights. So the Ninth Circuit had a case similar to this out of Hawaii a little while back, and of course they ruled that no, you have a right in your home, but that doesn't give you the right to just carry a firearm in public outside your home for lawful self-defense. The Ninth Circuit, by the way, it's one of the most overturned, actually I think it is the most overturned federal court. And that's why we call it the Ninth Circus. But anyway, so this case, backstory on the Supreme Court here is justices like Clarence Thomas and Justice Kavanaugh, both of them have come out in recent times saying, I'm really disappointed that the Supreme Court has not taken. There's been about 7 to 8 cases that really should have and could have gone to the Supreme Court, and in years past, the Supreme Court turned them down. So finally, the Supreme Court is going to be taking this case, and what's interesting is we have the way this might go, depending on the oral arguments and how the case is handled. You could have a 6-3 decision where you have more constitutionalist, justices on the court. But if Justice Roberts, pulls an Obamacare on us again, then you would have a 5-4 decision. So this looks like we can have some favor here, where we have justices that are going to look at the Constitution as it was written, what was the writer's intent behind what they said. But something interesting that kind of throws people off, and I've been doing this, there's 2 things I've been doing for a while. One is I've been comparing the Second Amendment. Well, what if we did that to the First Amendment? Does it still pass the smell test? Are we still happy with this? The second thing I've been doing for a while is I've been telling you guys, and for those of you guys who've been doing the Q&As, I've been talking about this for quite some time. And that's the concept that these states like California and New York that keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and they go for scorched earth. If they're trying to do death by 1,000 cuts and they're slowly doing 1 cut at a time, then that largely goes under the radar, and that's where we get long-term erosion of our rights. Not just Second Amendment, First Amendment as well, other things. But if they shoot for the moon and they're a little bit over-ambitious, and they do something that is so bad, so fast, and all of this stuff happening all at the same time, well, now they're playing a risky game, because that case might make it to the Supreme Court, and then it could be a complete disaster for those in favor of gun control. And I've been saying they need to be careful. If I was an anti-gun politician or policymaker, I would be very careful about the laws I'm trying to do, because if I'm over-ambitious, this could become, something that goes to the Supreme Court, and then it's out of my hands, and then, holy crap, we just messed up big time. Have another Heller kind of decision come down. So, in the case of New York, with this case, that's what's happened. It got a little bit over-ambitious. New York tried to play some games earlier by, basically removing standing from the case by just repealing the law. So the case no longer had standing. The Supreme Court couldn't take it. In this case, there's no way out. It's going to the Supreme Court. So, like I've said for a while, if I was an anti-gun politician or supporter, I would be very careful about being overzealous and overambitious and shooting for the moon and trying to do something crazy in terms of a lot of regulations or restrictions immediately, because you run the risk of this getting out of control, and now it goes to the Supreme Court, and surprise, you might have another Heller decision, and you've done irreparable damage to the gun control fight. Of course, for us, that's great. But the second thing, going back to the original point, is I've been comparing the First Amendment to the Second Amendment for quite some time. Now imagine, because the Ninth Circuit and actually the state of New York is going to argue the same position, like, hey, you have a right to self-defense in your home, but the second you leave your house, you don't have a right to carry a gun in public. You can just have one in your home. That's what they're going to argue. So could we apply that to the First Amendment, and does it still make sense? So in my home, I can speak my mind, I can pray, I can criticize the government, I can speak out. But the second I leave my doorstep, my First Amendment just dissolves. That's how it works, right? No. So I obviously disagree with the notion that as soon as I leave my doorstep, my Second Amendment just dissolves like cotton candy. No, because your First Amendment doesn't work that way. If I want to go do a peaceful protest or a demonstration that's outside of my home, I can do that as long as there's no violence involved. If I want to pray in my home and then I want to go out to church service or Bible study or whatever, I can do that outside my home. My First Amendment is not constrained to the four walls of my house. So I think that's going to be a very significant challenge for the state of New York to argue that your Second Amendment just dissolves like cotton candy the second you walk out your door. Because what other rights, the Fourth, the Fifth, all these other amendments, what other rights that we have operate in that manner? The answer is none of them. So that's going to be a significant challenge, especially because of the composition of the Supreme Court, where at least I see a 5-4 decision, at least. And, it might be just like Heller, 5-4. Maybe 6-3, but I guess we'll have to see. Now, that's just being optimistic. Now, here's the potential danger. This is a pretty big concept, that your Second Amendment, is not just in the home, it extends outside the home. Therefore, any restrictions on concealed carry or telling people they can't or be in a may issue state, that would be found unconstitutional. So we're kind of at this teetering point where if the case goes favorably for us, pro-gun, pro-Bill of Rights people, we have a incredible expansion of rights in the interpretation of rights, and this could even show up in First Amendment cases as well. And I would even say, of course, Fourth Amendment. If this case goes bad for whatever reason, then it's going to be just as powerful, but in the wrong direction. So this case, there's a lot on the line in this case. I am optimistic with the case itself, from what I've read and what I understand about it, the composition of the Supreme Court, the fact that they are taking this case on. All of these things make me optimistic about it, but I would also urge caution, that just understand the gravity of the potential ruling, that if it goes favorably towards the Bill of Rights, then it's going to be an incredible case with very positive consequences from that. And if it goes the wrong way or it goes the other way, the consequences are just as powerful, but in the wrong direction. So I just would urge a little bit of caution on that, but I'm pretty excited, because if the case goes the way I think it's going to go, I mean, that you will not have the existence of may issue states anymore. And I don't see every state becoming constitutional carry, but I do see states being required now to go to shall issue, where they're still issuing permits, but they can no longer tell people that hey, you need to provide this crazy, substantial, extraordinary circumstance for us to even feel like giving you a permit. No, I mean, if this case goes the way I think it will, we might see the end of that. I don't see any way out, because if they do rule, the big factor again here is that the Second Amendment still applies even after you've left your home. It applies outside the home, and if that's the ruling that we get, may issue is done. It's gone. I don't see, that would be unconstitutional, and the states that are may issue would have to go ahead and be shall issue, or join the other states like ours that is constitutional carry. And of course, going back, the 2010 McDonald decision moved into the territory that every state must issue concealed carry permits, and at that time we still had some states that just didn't issue them at all. Some of the states that were holding out chose to be may issue or continued to be may issue, but after this case, it could be quite something different. So just want to give you guys a quick update. I've had a lot of comments. What do you think about this case that the Supreme Court is taking? So these are my thoughts right now. Obviously not a deep dive, but I do feel very optimistic about it, but understand, if this goes the wrong way, the consequences are going to be huge, but in the wrong way. However, I am optimistic. I don't see any other way how this would change. And if this goes the way I think it's going to go, that is going to be tremendous in terms of huge positive consequences. So stay tuned for more content. Appreciate you guys for being here, and just want to give you that quick update, just to let you guys know my thoughts on that. And I'll see if we can do a live Q&A tonight, but it may not happen. So you guys will see the little reminder or notification show up if I've got one scheduled. So either way, thanks for being here, and all right, comment for questions.